latest episode of Mind Matters. Today I'm speaking to a fellow former Royal Marine, Ric Coulson. We're going to have, I know there's a lot that we're going to cover in this one. It's going to be probably a meandering conversation, which would be entertaining for the two of us as well as for you watching and listening. So Ric, thanks very much for coming on to chat. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, actually, because I know there's a lot that you can share and a lot we can delve into. So please do introduce yourself.
Yeah, you're welcome, Simon, and I've been looking forward to coming on myself with you. It's about time we had a proper good chin wag. But yeah, as Simon said, my name's Ric Coulson. I'm a former Royal Marine. I did a just over 13-year tenure from 97 to 2010. In that time, I initially specialised in communications before relinquishing that to go into the weapons branch at corporal level entry. I had numerous drafts all around the Corps. I actually had some very, very fantastic drafts in my time. So I got to see a whole variety of the Corps. And with that comes the numerous exercises and operations. So I worked all around the Middle East and Horn of Africa, as well as West Africa as well. So my time in the Corps was fast-paced, quick turnarounds, deployment training, exercises, obviously Norway standard. So a few of them, and my time in the Corps, if I look back, it was a fantastic time, and I think I left for the right and wrong reasons, because I did PVR, but I became very ill, I'd just come back from Afghanistan on Operation Herrick 9 in Sangin with 4-5 Commando, so I was close combat section commander. For a period of that, my troop sergeant, Baz Barrett, got blown up. So I then became troop sergeant, being the senior corporal, and then we'd flick between myself and another guy for R&R periods before we eventually got another experienced troop sergeant, which was towards the back end of the tour. Once getting back, we'd obviously, and some very close friends, colleagues, especially corporals, and I'd just come back and we was hosting one of the guys' families who we lost, and that's when I got the news. My cousin had been killed in the same area, and he was an engineer, and he'd gone out on Eric 10, and this was literally 6 weeks after.
Okay.
So that's when my mental health overflowed, especially when I had my second lot of pottle. So it was in between the first and the second pottle. Okay. Which is for those who don't know in your audience, is your post-operational tour leave. So we came back, we had 6 weeks off, and in then 2 weeks back at camp, as normally I'd been in medals presentation, I'd already had the Afghan medal. So my sergeant major at the time said, get yourself off. So it became like 7 weeks leave for me in that period. And to see it, when you've just been hosting the lads' families, and I think over the years, anyway, I think was the military side of it, which was topping up, and then my personal life topping up as well. And that just overflowed to see it in your own family. And I just swore to myself that if I went back out, I would go out and just kill people. And you cannot do that when you're in a position of leadership.
Yeah.
So I became very, very ill. I didn't turn to drink. I just became withdrawn in myself, like living like a hermit. And my life sort of like done that. So I'll have explosions of traveling, which people see, and then all of a sudden they just don't hear anything from me. And that's my periods of darkness.
Yeah.
But my time in general in the Royal Marines was absolutely fantastic. Very rewarding, hard work, very world, from the exotic to the shitholes as well.
It's good to have the balance, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know, 1 minute you're in Seychelles, next minute you're in Afghanistan. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite the same, really, is it?
Yeah, well, I remember on my second time I went to Sierra Leone on Op Silkman in 2000, and then it became Op Silkman ongoing after that.
Okay.
It was literally like plus 40 degrees, and then a month later I was in Norway with a tan.
Yeah.
It was like 80-degree, 100-degree temperature change.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's so quick as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but the time was fantastic, and like I said, I chose to relinquish that specialization. And so when I left and they were asking, you know, are you sure you want to do this? I turned my seniors down. I was due on my seniors that September, and I just wish I'd have stayed, but it's easy to look back in hindsight. So
Yeah.
I left for the right and wrong reasons, but I was diagnosed in service with PTSD.
Okay.
And I just think with that, it's a massive label, Simon. It's PTSD. Yeah. And there's a lot of stigma which surrounds it. It's as if it's like it's fashionable for people now.
Yes.
I, for years, have always put myself out there, not for attention, not for anything. I know it's directly saved people's lives because the lads have been in touch with me. And I used to do some Facebook Lives a number of years ago and bare my soul, literally bare it. And the lads who knew me just couldn't believe that this was the same Rick, you know, because I'd always been a very strong character, very core-paced, which means I just loved the core, you know, I loved it. But I want two pussers. I want, you know, even though I was a PW, I want two pussers. But
come on.
No, well, but not like the old-fashioned PWs where they were just predominantly at Lympstone, you know. I only did one craft at Lympstone, 80, just shy of 2 years, but and that was very I think everyone should in your rank go and train, because it takes you back to your basics, and you're so proud of them guys, them young guys, when they pass out.
Yeah.
And it hones your own skills because you're going back to your bread and butter, no matter what. And that's why they opened it up with that skill at arms course, so all branches predominantly can do it.
Yes.
And not just PWs or heavy weapons guys.
Yeah, that was a good upgrade, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and that's which led me to go PW, thankfully, because I'd already done my S2s at that point, my similar class 2s course.
Yeah.
So, and then all I had to do was a company weapons package afterwards, but that was very rewarding. But then I had 2 years straight afterwards on FSRT, and now it's, for those watching the British Oceans Warriors program, the second program just aired. It's now 4-2 Commando, which are doing it.
Yeah.
Before it was known as S Squadron, and then there were just a troop of guys in there which did that, and I was blessed to do 2 years as a team commander all around the world. I mean, we didn't have a Gucci kit they've got.
Yeah, things have changed a lot.
Yeah. So so it's good to see that on the program, because it takes you back. But it was just like 2 years of flying around the world with my team. You had a credit card and a mobile, and you go and do different jobs, whether it be their force protection or the maritime interdiction operations.
Yeah.
For compliant or non-compliant boardings, and that ranged all over the globe. So you're literally flying in and out all the time. It could be a 2-month job down to a 3-day job. And then I used to go into the office early in the morning, and I'd collar the boss or the troop sergeant and say, right, I see that job on the board, there's no team number next to it. My team's free. And it'd be like, fly out to Cyprus, finish in Singapore, 2-month job. But that's how you used to get the good jobs, you know? So
yeah, just you got to put yourself in front and center. Yeah.
Well, it was like redesigning the post-deployment reports as well. So working behind the scenes. So I think that was just a little reward sometimes.
Yes.
It was needed to be done because stuff constantly needs to be updated, but it managed to get my lads, my team, some good little numbers, you know. So yeah, Yeah. So for anybody thinking, I want to join, there's so much you can do, from drafts to specializations to drafts abroad. And, you know, as a recruit I took through, who's the adjutant at Limpston now. I mean, and he went Corps Commission, you know.
Yeah.
Two other guys who are same rank who I were corporals with, who, you know, are now majors. So it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, the Corps is quite unique well, it's unique in many respects, but the intelligence of the guys that join, so many guys have degrees.
Yeah.
A lot, you know, there's a lot of very well-educated guys join the Corps from a variety of backgrounds. I
think the separation, I think because of our education is now as well, the separation educationally between officers and men in the Corps is more or less similar. Not to all, but
yeah.
There's you know, there's guys who invest in themselves once they're in the Corps, you know, to become more articulated and educated.
Yes.
I mean, I used to take a thesaurus away with me. And it'll make you laugh. This is basically, obviously, being a Yorkshireman, I tend to miss words out anyway. But not when I'm texting, but because it's predicted. But it's so when I got my Rose report on my reporting or 365 for older ones, is from an officer. Is I could look up the words which I didn't understand, because if I can put it in context to the you know, the sentence or paragraph, then I could have a look and go, oh, well, actually, it means that. Hang on a minute, I ain't signing this. And it's how I became more, well, I believe intellectual and more articulated. Because a lot of study time, as you know, you can see your books behind you. You'd have your welfare packages, especially pre-September the 11th. We used to do a lot of ARG deployments, amphibious ready groups on the shipping, and you know, especially when you're on the RFA, the LSLs, it's a good quality time to read. So I mean, I redid my English and maths floating around Mediterranean, you know, to get my NAMIT 00, because I'd flunked them 2 subjects at school. So like you say, the education wise, swap lads, it's there as well.
Yeah, I got most of my qualifications through the Corps because I joined with nothing.
Yeah.
I was a rat bag as a kid, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can relate to that young lad that's in that going through training at 16, because I was the same, you know.
Yeah.
And it was it's fucking hard work.
Yeah. And the amount of uniforms compared to what they've got now is you have to get ready. I mean, all the rigs. these young ones don't know how good they've got it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's madness, absolute madness. But I tell you what, I think this new series from Monty Halls is quite possibly, well, very likely the best one I've ever seen of the Corps. It's a great advert for the Corps. It's
good getting the veterans in as well.
Yes.
Whether they're decorated or you know, even the former Major General, you know, Commandant General is it's, there's always an honesty with it, but there's just something, there's a twist on it, which is from experience. It's just how it's not just filmed, it's how it's raw at the same time. It's just, it's hard for me to try and explain, but it's hitting the veteran Marines in a manner which is, I can relate to that. I can properly relate to that. You can anyway, but it's doing it in that way.
Yes.
And the serving guys as well. Yeah.
There's a lot has changed.
Yeah.
Through training, and after, you know, when you get to your unit, a lot has changed. Not just in kit and equipment, but there's still that constant theme all the way through, isn't it? And that hasn't changed.
But you think the level of the foundation of that guy coming out, and you know, like where they were saying, you know, does it feel good to put your grey lid on? You know, you'll always get that, and sometimes it's not complacency, but you just got to remember how much you bloody worked hard to get it in the first place.
Yeah.
And then doing courses again, which, as you know, you burn midnight oil or you've got to strive for. I mean, because they had to do entrance tests to get into the maritime side of it. We had to do a three-week selection course for it as well.
Yeah.
So them elements haven't changed, but the pride and the caliber of the guys and so intelligent, you know. It makes your job easier as a commander as well. You know, I remember I had a
100%.
fantastic 2IC, still serving, and I just say, right, I need this done so and so, and it's like, done. I need this done, and it's like, it can trip you up.
Yeah.
Like when you're delivering your orders.
Yeah.
On a command course, it's like, done, next. Where am I? You know.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So,
I mean, the caliber of guys is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Plus the core in a great spotlight, especially recruiting. I mean, we've always stood above with regards to the adverts, you know.
Yeah. It's there's a lot to be proud of with not just the history, but, you know, individual times in the Corps. It does, you know, because you forget the longer you've been out. I mean, I left the Corps in '99, so it's a bloody long time ago now. But so it's, you know, it's a long time, and you forget what you've done and how hard you worked for the whole time you're in the Corps. Because as you said, you know, when you want to go and do something, if you want to go and do a specific job, and there's a selection process, you have to work. You don't just get on it. You have to put the bloody effort in. Everything is effort. It's effort and reward.
Yeah. Well, you do get in, you do get out what you put in, but that due diligence before and that prep and stuff.
Yes.
I remember going on a course and we all sat there, and I got accused of cheating because I was the only one passing the written test. And it's like, literally, you're adjudicating me in front of me. How can I cheat? I ain't got sleight of hand, you know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. It's just that I revised for the course.
Yeah.
So when it came to the written test, I just find it very, very easy, and it was just very simple technical information you should have known anyway at the basics of bread and butter stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I see your book there, and I've still got your copy, and I'm working my way through it. It's when it's new things, it's harder to digest, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because sometimes my memory can be really sharp. I found from just recently, where I know we said we'll speak about it, where I've just been out to, my mind was sharper coming back because it had more so my mind became a bit sharper. But in the time when my transition from the Corps, I was very ill, and I'd paid for some resettlement courses, the deposits with a college, and I was just too ill. So they pushed the course right. And to be fair to them, this was down in Bristol, Filton College. And I was living in Somerset at the time, in Weston, as I was just leaving the Corps. And the Corps extended me 4 months because I was just too ill. And in the end, I was that ill, I couldn't even do the course, but they never refunded me my deposit. I mean, we're talking 500 quid, you know? So my transition out into Civvy Street was just an absolute welfare case.
Yeah.
I did no resettlement whatsoever. And I still done no ELC to this day. I've done courses, but I find to do a lot of courses is my mind will only concentrate. And then I ended up on trial as well for something I didn't do, and I obviously was found not guilty. And then a serious assault took place on me as well. So we're all within this space of a few months of leaving was just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, and that were my transition into Civvy Street, which I know everyone has their own individual thing, but I just had literally no identity. I just had one. And I had that with the uniform and the guys I work with, and the knowledge you build up over 13 years. you know.
Yes.
You're still learning, you're always learning, but and I had a good wage at that point, you know, a very comfortable wage. I was highest level corporal, 707 on the highest level, you know. So it was never about money in the Corps. Obviously, once you hit rank, it's, you know, you start earning an half decent wage, especially with your LSA days,
Yes.
your allowance days. I think mine were up to 1,400, 1,700 when I left.
Yeah.
Well, there were a lot of days away, you know, for those who knows how the system works, but it was very, very difficult leaving, and my relationship had broken down. All that had happened, and I ended up in like on a minimum wage job working for a landscape company, just going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And ironically, the Elizabeth Line Crossrail opened up yesterday officially, and it was in 2011, beginning of 2011. I left in March 2010. I phoned a friend up in London who I knew was tendering his drawings, won the Western Running Tunnels contract from Paddington to Farringdon.
Okay.
And I'd grown up with him as a kid. And I said, "Can you get me a job? Otherwise, I'm swinging from a tree, literally." And in the October, he managed to get me a job as a foreman with no experience. But I absolutely smashed it. And that just came down to my organizational skills, which just let the specialists do their job or the trades do their job, and then I could just organize everything else. So I had like a foreman's job, but or more like a site coordinator.
Yeah.
But at one point I was on site by myself for 3 months, you know. So with the lack of major project construction knowledge, your existing skills or the transferable skills from organizing, you know, so many things at a time and multiple roles or jobs you have to do as one guy when you're in a position of management was exactly the same. And I just found it easy to do that. So you shine, but you weren't trying to shine.
Just doing your job.
Yeah, and it led to 3 years down there. Unfortunately, I had to leave there. So my mum was terminally ill at the time. So it was family first.
Yeah.
So it's been a rocky road of my time since of relationships and moving around the country, and it's more or less mass my time in the Corps of not just relationship breakdowns, but like, because obviously you're moving around, it's hard to have a relationship, especially if your partner's in Exeter and you're up in Glasgow. For one instance, and then the drafts, like you do, you know, that's why the Corps so unique is you've got you move around the Corps. Some guys are lucky to spend many years in the same unit, but my time afterwards has more or less been a mirror image of moving, and more or less, am I unsettled still, you know, or am I always seeking that next, what's the next, not adventure, but and now I'm residing in my hometown, and it's been a very difficult period, you know, which I've obviously received help from yourself, and I've received help from many organizations, and there's a pride which comes in for not asking for help, and I think that's I think every person who suffers, well, technically they won't suffer if they didn't ask for help. It's a pride which stops a lot of people, and sometimes that pride costs them their lives, you know.
Yeah.
Or the total darkest depths. And I've been there on many occasions, everything from not wanting to live, and that's like thoughts every day, to starving, to being unemployed, to living like a hermit, and just thinking, how have you gone from 0.1% of Britain's fighting elite to that? And, you know, it looks like I might be smiling about it, but it's not. It's a very dark cloud to be down there, and I have needed the help. You don't give to receive. I've always done charitable work, like when I was in London, I was a regional coordinator for Help Our Wounded when they were very, very small.
Yeah.
And when I were trying to do that backwards walking challenge across from John O'Groats to Land's End, you know,
Yeah.
those who, if you've heard about it, then it was me. And I didn't come up with idea in a pub, you know, and I certainly wasn't drunk.
No.
But I did 1,664 kilometers on the treadmill first. That's what people forget. 12, 15 hours a day. And so when I got up there to do it, it was fine. I mean, I did over 200 miles, but I raised a lot of money and a lot of awareness.
Yeah.
And that's the key as well. It's all well and good raising money, but we do need to tie in hand with awareness. And then with the sculpting and the artwork now, I donate proceeds, profits. And people say you shouldn't if you're struggling, but like financially, but I just can't help it. I have to give back. I always will, not just because I've received help, I'll just always do that. And I know that it will help someone else. And I think I've helped to raise just over the past 2 years, over £20,000.
Yeah.
Well, which would be very nice in my pocket for anybody.
Well, yeah, it certainly smooths out a few wrinkles, doesn't it?
Yeah, but so it's times where I just go without eating, not looking after myself, not doing phys. I know as I get older, my health in general's physical health deteriorates, everything aches, creaks, it's as if it needs cod liver oil,
I've no idea what you mean.
But that dark, so the transition and adjustment from leaving, obviously I was very suffering with PTSD, and I'd had NHS help and down at HMS Drake. I was going for appointments there with one of the naval psychologists, and it was shocking. It was this was 2009, and it was still crap. Really bad. I mean, the support mental health wise, I'm presuming now it's a lot better. We know about the trim methods and the guys who go and do that, but predominantly that's management, and I think it should be the lads as well who do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's changed, but I got more out of 40 Commandos welfare because I knew him. He used to be my old TQ in a different unit, coming to my house and spinning bits with him than what I ever did with any so-called specialist therapy sessions. Because it was speaking with someone who was a peer, but also you admire and respect, but at the same time, who can relate.
Yes.
Instantly, you've got that relatable content with the person, and there's certain stuff you just don't need to explain because they already know.
Yeah.
And that can be a trauma in itself, repeating yourself. And I'll give you an example of that.
Yes.
About 6-7 years ago, I do suffer with my throat, and it's like a puckered hoop now. So for those who are thinking about hanging yourself, don't. I woke up with adrenaline through the heart, and obviously the MRIs for my throat, and it's very restricted now. And I hung myself in the garage, and thankfully I found the fire brigade and everything had, literally smashed down the doors, my roller doors to the workshop and stuff. And it's a heavy subject to speak about. I'm more or less gone. Like, I know the time I wanted to go, and I can't remember what I'm going with the story now, but is the crisis teams. I think over 1 month, I counted 25 different people came to my door, and one the centre trainee. And although you're ex-military, I literally told him to fuck off because he hadn't been on ops. He hadn't been. It wasn't down to him, but I just, we ended up having to get in touch with the head of the NHS trust in my district.
Yeah.
To say, this is unacceptable, and because you're more or less repeating yourself.
Yes.
When they come and visit, or it's just as if it's a routine. It's like people want care, or they want aftercare. Same with like charitable help. there's a lot of charities doing great good, but there's a missing sector on the aftercare, massively.
Yeah.
Massive gap. And you know, you can do well going on residential courses or on a program, but it's as if the initial help's there, but then afterwards it's like, right, well, you were a number, now we're going to the next one and next one.
Yeah.
And I think in charities are missing the point of having that aftercare. I've spoke about it before many years ago, but I don't know if that's changed or what, but
I don't think so.
no,
Not from my experience.
no. And the buddy system as well. People say they do it, but it ain't as much as what it is, you know. I've seen posts people share copy and paste stuff, which they're just doing themselves what hacking anyway with algorithms, but they'll put some, yeah, share this status. I want to see 10 likes for, you know, to say that if you want to get in touch with us, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, right, I've just put a post on numerous times and you haven't even responded or liked it or commented. And yet you're sharing this other shit. So if you've got my back, have my fucking back then, even just a message. Might not pick up the phone, but even a message I'll eventually get back, you know, Simon. Yeah. So there's a proper buddy. I know we're pretty good at it in core, but and the aftercare really lacks.
Yeah, it does. It's the bookends. The middle bit's okay.
Yeah.
But the crisis piece, and the aftercare is what needs to be addressed 100%.
Well, if you broke your leg, you know, you wouldn't just get the plaster on, you'd have the physio. So it's as if the physio's missing.
Yeah.
You know, or like you know, a screening, you know. It's just like prevention is better than cure. And that's how it has to do for the after any help or intervention, you know. But it can seem very overwhelming for people when they're reaching out as well, you know, and sometimes it's gone past, and where I say sometimes it's gone past people's like reasoning or help is it could have been intervened. So, you know, it could have been a relationship could have been saved. That person could have been saved. Yeah. And mental health is massive, especially coming out of COVID anyway. So it's not just predominantly in a military context, although there'll be guys listening or watching and going, right, well, the way I describe from being ill, and I understand it's a journey. I didn't to start with. I know it's just constantly improvement, and you see a lot of this self-help motivational stuff, guidance or whatever, but it's got to be reinvesting in yourself. But I just see it as a normal reaction to unnatural circumstances, and there'd be something wrong if you didn't feel that way.
Yeah, you're in a different category then. And that's not good.
Yeah. But you know, if it's like, you know, I've just obviously come back from Ukraine, and you know, I did a I don't know, no, it wasn't a Facebook Live because I wasn't giving away my locations for my own personal security.
Yeah.
But I uploaded a video I took, and it was just raw, and I was emotional, you know. And people going, is it going to affect your PTSD out there and all this? It's like, no, you're giving me the PTSD label. I ain't giving myself it.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, they were just being cautious and concerned for my mental well-being, and that's really kind of people. But don't also throw it in my face as well, because that then brings it up myself. So there's a balance.
There is.
But when you're doing good, when you're doing good, which was out there in a humanitarian effort, to see the joys on and gratitude on people's faces is just something which you're not even worrying about mental health. It's good for the bloody soul, you know. And with my military background, then obviously I can do stuff out there and those all with to protect and make sure does happen, and that confidence as well. So it just led me into, but what I did see is a lack of mental health. We in the Powder Tower, it's known as, in Lviv, and you might have seen the Sky News do it where they were making the camouflage nets.
Yeah.
So we met up with the lass who run that, and we went in. And we're speaking with everybody really, just to see what these people need, because it could be brown material for the camouflage nets, and they do, the different hues and shades they need. And I said, "Oh, what's in this curtained room?" And she said, "That's our volunteer psychologist who comes in 2 days a week. But as you can see, the queue, it's overwhelming. But she can only volunteer 2 days a week."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everybody's volunteering in one manner or whatever, but the volunteers, Dwayne as well, like at one point they were making 44 cam nets a day in the same building, a week, sorry, and then it were down to 10 because of the volunteers. So it's the same with the mental health, and that were everything from the families coming from the besieged areas into the relative safety of Lviv. I know it's been cruise missiles, and that was our sort of like first stop off to get a contact there, and then we spoke with the military hospitals and stuff. But you know, it could be anybody from a soldier going in saying he's missing his wife. You know, these are important as people underestimate mental health and what it is, because if he's got a clearer mind, it means it could help. You know, he's more switched on to serve his oppo, or he's more switched on for the fight as well. So having that mental health support is lacking massively out there. Actually, out there as well. You know.
Yeah.
So that's one element which we found out, which trying to address. You know, or small cogs, massive organisations out there, but the routes we put in and the warehousing is, you know, the big organisations, 40% of kit might get through if it's supplies or equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's you know, it's people are on the take or whatever else, you know, people profit out of war, unfortunately.
Always have, always will.
Yeah. So we were making sure we got there. I'll give you an example of some of the decent stuff which were happening. These kids had a national youth club, and they converted it into a warehouse, their storage space in the centre.
Okay.
They've got massive following on, well, I say massive, but a very, very good following on Instagram. And they were not only getting supplies, so we dropped off like 6 or 7 boxes of medical supplies.
Mm-hmm.
And they need everything from sanitary stuff to, you know, they were so thankful just for that, but they were more thankful that we'd found them and just gone in and chatting, because we were speaking with other people and said, "Oh, do you know about these guys?" And then so that we can put in place, "Oh, we've got a warehouse here and we've got a lorry, so if it needs to, we can drive over to Poland and go to your warehouse where you're going to drop all your stores." So it's like we've just got a logistics route straight in from them. But then we're fundraising and buying soldiers' cars so they could all pile into it to get to the front line. I mean, you know, it's unbelievable. It's, you know, and I say kids, you know, they're in their young 20s, but how amazing is that? You know, it's the surgeon, one of our fixers, was a surgeon, had been in 2014 war, shot in the leg. He acted as like our interpreter and setting us up with different people, and he was running, you know, first aid courses on a weekend, CPR and stuff.
Yeah.
Just, you know, in his own time. So the whole cross section of society doing their bits and trying to function normally at the same time, they're resolved, but also a concerted effort together. And that's what really stood out for me, is not just resolve, but the spirit. It's like, I think I can't relate to it, but what I could say is it'd be related to, say, the all involved effort what England had, Great Britain had during World War II.
Yes, it is. It's that kind of national spirit is well, it's been evident to see, isn't it? I mean, geez, I mean, but it's a weird thing about humanity, is we pull together and work together in times of crisis, and then we get complacent. It subsides over time in times of peace, and then we start to have these niggly little arguments that then builds up to another crisis. If there's not one naturally happening, we'll create one.
Yeah,
we are strange.
It is. I like how you've used that and described that. It's like the old. Well, nothing happens until there's an accident.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, well, we need to be risk assessing beforehand. So
yes.
Or safeguarding measures or whatever in place to minimise. But then it's like it takes tragedy to bring out the best, and you see the best in people, and unfortunately that's always been the case. But so it goes back to our veteran or mental health. I mean, civilian wise, unless you're paying for your own treatment, the waiting lists or anything else is people forget, as a veteran or blue light services, they're very lucky with the amount. I say lucky, it's not lucky. They're very blessed with the amount of organizations which are out there, but that can be daunting in itself. But there is help. And it takes numerous tries as well. It's not just one.
100%. And this is where the system lets itself down in terms of how people manage and utilize the system, the mental health system. And I might get shot down in flames and shit from people for saying this, but I've said this for a long time and I stand by it, is that there are nice guidelines for treatment, and they're there for good reason. And it's good that we have these guidelines, but they are guidelines. They're not law, they're not legislation, they're not set in stone, but there's a tiered structure to it. So you have the gold standard, which doesn't work for everybody. So they should then go down to tier 2. And if that's not working, go down to tier 3, because tier 1 is the that's got the kite mark, the seal of approval, gold standard, been tried and tested. Counselling, EMDR, CBT, etc. Then you've got treatments that have peer review, but haven't gone through the trial process. And then you've got emerging treatments in tier 3. And some of those emerging treatments are far more effective for many people than the tier 1. And in terms of trauma, this is something I share with everyone. This is a book that it's got a catchy title, and there's more than it says in the book than it says on the cover. 101 trauma-informed interventions. Yet the system provides 3 or 4.
Wow.
And they shoehorn people into these treatments, even if they're not working, and they put blame back on the individual for being belligerent or treatment resistant or not taking part in the process when it's not working and making it worse.
They're not connected. You've got to have a connection with it as well. I mean, you've obviously got to be open to interpretation, to try stuff outside of not your comfort zone, but you've got to be willing to participate. Well, just some things, 1 don't stick, or 2 just don't resonate.
Absolutely.
Help, or can actually heighten any traumas. But like you've just described, there just seems to be like a sausage factory of it, whereas it needs to be an individual tailored program. And people say, well, all that can cost whatever, but you know, if I had an open wound fracture, they wouldn't do it like a normal closed break fracture. So it's exactly the same for mental health. It's got to be treated individually and found out what specifically that person needs. And if that's an ongoing program of multiple things, then they've done. And it don't mean pushing somebody pillar to post either.
No.
But you as a sufferer or whatever might find, you might find going to do cold water therapy has just squeezed everything out, or there's a concern, but I think you can find them again. But circle of concern as well is a big one. You know, it's like you know, people worried about Russia if they're going to nuke. You know, it's like I get messages and it's like, look, stop stressing over it. If it's going to happen, you won't know about it because they'll have already pressed button. So
yeah,
concentrate on stuff which is within your circle of concern, which immediately matters you now because you're stressing. Undue stresses about this, and you tend to find when you concentrate on the traumas, the linchpins, whatever you're experiencing, that all the rest of it meanders away, or it should do. Not all of it. Or I had a conversation with someone and they goes, "Oh, what's going on, Rick?" And I told them and did an overview, a synopsis, a very in-depth one. And they just went, "Stop you right there." And this was within 30 seconds. I went, "You've just listed about 14 traumas there. And each one's got to be individually dealt with." So I don't mean that the others will dwindle away. It just means that you can only ever work on one thing at a time.
yes,
Can't be harsh
yes.
on yourself if you're still suffering. Why do I still suffer 13 years on?
Listen, you know, there's people can absolutely overcome PTSD and do it, but they will never be the same person they were before. It's important. You cannot possibly be the same person you were 10 years ago.
No.
And we have to adapt and continue to refine ourselves and understand the changes that are going on within us, physically and mentally, to continue to become better than we were yesterday. It's a constant state of refinement, which I think is amazing. The fact that we can actually do that. We're not stuck in time, which is what PTSD does to us. It sticks us in
and I have been in that stagnated
moment,
and you know, I haven't enjoyed life, or what I perceive of enjoying life to what I was used to. I am obviously adjusted still. I miss the identity. I was proud of what I used to be. I know I'm not that, but it defines me. It ingrained into me because I was a young man when I did it.
Yeah.
So transition, you know, we're only 18, you know, a month after my 18th, you know, I was still 18 when I passed out. And it's young. It's very young. You're in a man's world, even at that age, you know?
Yeah.
And the loving life part, I just haven't done, or as much as what there's a lot I'd like to achieve. And on the other hand, when I've been in the darkest moments, it's just like, I don't give a toss. I'm just not bothered.
Yeah.
It's very, it for my part, it can be selfish, but when you're in them moments, it's not, because it's how your thought processing is. So it's easy for someone to look in and say to being selfish is, well, no, unless you've suffered, and there's a dark, we're talking a proper dark cloud here.
Yep.
We're not talking about sad news or anything like that. We're talking to a point where you just do not want to exist. And people ask sometimes, how are you? And I just say, I'm existing. There's a massive difference between existing and living.
There certainly is.
You know, but at some point in life, people will need help with something. And it's bollocks about all these people going, I did it all by myself. No, you never did, because you either had a friend or a family member around you, or you offloaded a conversation onto someone and you've been helped without you even realizing it. If I needed to pick up an heavy object, you know, why would I struggle if there's someone there next to me? I'd ask for help with it. We'd naturally do that. We would naturally do it. We're not on about young man's bravado, getting guns out and all this.
No, it's not that.
But so why can't we do that with mental health? Is why can't we make it easier to ask for help when we naturally do it for something which is outside of our control? Yeah. And that's what mental health is in regards to lift. It's only analogy I can use or metaphor, you know, for is we naturally ask for help. If you broke your leg, you go and get help.
Yes, and this is where I firmly believe the system needs to update and adapt and change, because it's not providing enough either end of the care. Whether that's, you know, that's the NHS and all the mental health charities, civvy and military. Everything is time based. You've got a certain number of sessions. If you're not, and you know, if you're not fixed by the time your sessions are up, it's thanks so much, have a nice life. You didn't perform like the circus monkey we expected you to, and the treatment didn't work, so it's your fault.
Yeah.
This I hear time and time and time again over the last 23 years since I left the Corps.
Yeah.
And it's shit. It sucks. To blame somebody who is vulnerable already and to shift that extra blame and the responsibility through that blame for them getting better. I'll
give you a good example of that. I've been sectioned into a place in Taunton, an NHS residential place. And although I stayed on voluntary afterwards, I mean, bearing in mind back then you used to get put in a police cell.
Yeah.
So technically you're feeling like you're getting arrested, like you've done something wrong. And then I was handcuffed. Now, bearing in mind, I hadn't drank, I don't do drugs, I've never done drugs. And I was handcuffed, so I felt like an actual convict from the 24 hours I spent in the cell to going down to the place. And I went, why are you handcuffing me? I said, you know, and even when we got to the place, and I hadn't been violent, I'm threatened violent, I hadn't said anything, I wasn't swearing. And they escorted me from Western to this place in Taunton, NHS mental health place, handcuffed. And then I'd been receiving help, obviously, down at the whatever DMCR, I can't remember what you call it in you know, military, naval. And this guy, he drove up there to the place. And he walked through the door, see me, and went, what the fuck are you doing in here? This is a ranking naval officer who's a psychologist saying that to you. And do you know what I said? So I went, fuck off, away from me now. I said, don't ever speak to me like that again. I said, that's us done. Technically, I was still serving, but I'd already handed in my ID card. But to come up and just speak to someone like that, what the fuck are you doing in here? But it was done with a bollocking. It wasn't jovial. It wasn't military banter.
Yeah.
I hadn't taken it the wrong way because it was witnessed. I mean, I was shocked. I was shocked. And I've got thick skin, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was already at a lowest point from mental health wise. I've just been sectioned. I've been handcuffed. I've spent 24 hours in a cell, which I've never ever been in a cell in my life at that point. and then for him to, and then met there and told that.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Well, no, it doesn't set the tone very on the right path, really, is it? It's so we talked about this briefly before we started this chat. The different in terms of mental health in the Corps. Yes, you were diagnosed with PTSD and left ultimately because of that. But in terms of what's the difference for you between, you know, managing mental health in service to, you know, through the transition period and up till now? What's the difference been like? You're right.
Yeah, just yeah. You're really suffering with I've got a trapped nerve in the shoulder and then suffering in the chest. I'm just falling to pieces, mate.
I can relate to that. It's shit's a good word. Oh God! All right, you come up.
I think the soil I did has been from Chernobyl.
I have a very, very soppy dog.
Hello.
Oh, Woody. Oh, come on, fucking Woody. Woody, come on.
Woody, right? I thought you said Winnie.
No, his balls are far too big to be called Winnie.
Yeah.
Hello. Oh, hello.
Well, this is a new thing, you see. If your aids to your presentation, you see. Use the senses, look.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Here's
I
a
need to
sock.
get a dog. I need to get a dog.
Oh, I tell you what, it's my saving grace. Keeps me
Yeah.
fucking sane.
Yeah. No, I'd love a dog. I just can't afford one. I can't afford to keep one a minute. But
Oh, there we go. That's better.
I'd love a Rhodesian Ridgeback, you know.
Beautiful dogs.
Yeah, yeah, I would. They just give you morale, don't they, in abundance? But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the question you're asking, Simon,
Yes.
was
In term. What's the difference? What differences have you found in terms of dealing with your mental health while you're in service compared to the whole, through the transition period, becoming a civvy and until up to where you are now? How is it different? Has it been harder, easier in civvy life? And what's the thing that's kind of
for me
kept you going the most?
Well, for me personally, it's been harder in civil life. I don't think there wasn't stigma attached to it in the Corps when I was serving because it wasn't really spoken about. I did see one colleague really suffer after his deployment on a Herrick 5 with 4-5 Commando, and but he was already bombers off the rails anyway, so it was sort of like expected of him, you know.
Okay.
Like, because in his personality type, you get that in any walks of life, you know.
Yeah.
And you certainly get an eclectic mix in call.
That you do.
We're all missing a screw loose anyway to do the job you do.
Does help.
Well, yeah, you know, but you hear of people who are going on this trim course and you might have an overview of it, but in the early years there was nothing even mentioned about it.
Yeah.
Not mental health wise, it wasn't even talked about, you know. You're like, you know, if you were pissing up, I used to see corporals like, they'd be like, right, you're off on piss, Rick. And it's like a week later and it's like, look, I'm not on pop star wages like you guys, you know, but they've been in 15 years, you know, when corporals took a long time to get going or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how the call was promotional wise, you know, at that time. But you know, so they were masking something, but it came with a lifestyle anyway. The alcohol comes with the socializing. But it just wasn't even talked about. And then you have your normal life stuff going on, like family bereavements and stuff, you know. Or you hear of the welfare cases where it's just something what's happened at that moment in time in their lives.
Yes.
But I think you're around, the focus is a lot on your job all the time. I think it can mask predominantly your own feelings. So they're not talked about, I think, if that makes sense. Or I think because you're around guys who similar circumstances or have been in shit with you or whatever, you know, or near-death experiences. I mean, that can just be in training. Never mind on ops, you know, and we lose guys in training wise or in exercises, or accidents or road traffic collisions as it's called now. I mean, the Corps used to factor 8 people a year dying from road traffic collisions. That's why they changed the timings to midday on a Monday.
Yeah.
For turning 2, you know. But the transition in, you remember if like, I remember the RSM at the time phoning me up, and I was in Somerset, and obviously I you know, just trying to take my life, you know, and goes, come up to mess for a couple of weeks and I'll host you at mess, Rick. I don't need my ID card, but I'm technically still serving, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But I knew it a bit wrong decision just to be on piss for 2 weeks. It might have helped. It probably made me stay, but it was, you know, and I'm forever grateful for that as well, that phone call anyway. you know, a legend of a guy as well. And it would just, you've got support when you're in. Immediate support. If you want help, you're going to get it. So if you need physio, you're going to get it straight away. There's none of this messing around.
Yeah.
You know, I know certain operations wise people have to wait, but your general care is immediate, you know, from your dental to your sick bay to you know, to MA, you've got, you know, if you've got little niggle, you've just got everything around you. But when you transition, all the normal stuff, registering for doctors, dentists, I didn't do for years. I think I've still not registered a dentist now, but I've got doctors.
Yeah.
So it's like all these stuff are all taken care of for you.
Yeah.
So now you're having to do it yourself. Now, if you're in a family, your missus has done all that already anyway. So everything's all balls rolling, you know. But
True.
you know, for single guys, or if you've joined from a young age, it's all been done for you. It's not wiping your ass, but what it is them. I found the little things like that become just an epic for registering for stuff, simple form filling and stuff. It's like, I should be smashing that out. It's simple, but it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so in relation to your question, it has been harder since than what it was in. Of course it has. And then there's the pride in not wanting to ask for help, and then wait until it's absolutely, you know, at a point which, you know, we spoke about tragedy, people coming together, but you're letting it get catastrophic. It's like a disaster is happening in your own life until you are going to either seek help or it's at point of no return.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it's been harder, and all the events since leaving, a lot I've dealt with from my time, and then events can throw you off, like take you back or enhance any previous traumas from ones you experienced since, and I find it difficult to deal with them.
Yeah.
And although I can come across as personable and everything else, I'll just go very closed and withdrawn and very deep dark. And and I don't ask for help until the last minute. Or I say ask for help, it's sort of like, it's not trying to be clever or cryptic. It's just like, look, I'm hanging out. I've learned to do that, to swallow the pride on that, because I am only human and I'm not a machine. I'm not trying to portray an image either. I've always been real about it. And it's nothing to do. I just, you know, if someone said paint the ideal world for you, it'd just be to live.
Yeah.
And and the roller coaster of emotions which you went through previously, you know, like family bereavements and tragedies and guys dying, you that's part of life's processes. And I think like when like you're in, for example, serving, or you're on ops and you lose guys, you're not doing natural processes you were used to. So like say for grieving and bereavement, because you've got to put it to one side.
Yeah.
But then if you start building all these up, how many traumas of that, all these processes you naturally go through,
Jesus,
then it becomes over for your glass overflowing. It's going to naturally do it because it's going to get to a point of that tipping over. So yeah, that's where I've been at with it, and as we alluded to, overwhelmed. I've the support I've received. I mean, you know, the support you gave me back end of last year, and then so I've just collected book on where past there and Simon's book. You know, guys, don't underestimate it. It's I find it personally hard reading, but that's because it's challenging me and a new way of thinking. But that's a good thing as well. but it's a very in-depth written with experience, you know, and you know, get in touch with Simon for. I'm not just saying it because you know we're doing this podcast, but it's a work in progress, and it has to be. So I have to keep coming back to it, and that's that self-investment. It's like if you're training for a marathon, you know, most people ain't just going to rock up and cuff it. You're going to do some sort of training. That's investing in yourself, and it's exactly the same with the brain. We do not utilize our full potential with the brain or the capacity of it. You know, so that becomes that, and knowing little things or why we feel certain ways. We've got to remember it's natural, and there'd be something wrong if you didn't, because you'd be a psychopath.
Yeah.
Otherwise, so
a psychopath, and the naughty kind of psychopath.
Yeah, but because you have no emotion, you don't feel to stuff. So if you're feeling stuff, it means you're healthy. You know, I remember someone doing a simple exercise where they went just close your eyes. And so if I said it to you now, close your eyes, Simon, and I'd say, right, picture the end of your garden, and then picture a pink elephant. And if you can do that, it means your brain is functioning fine, because they're tapping into certain stuff. It's beyond my comprehension, but it was one of the first things, you know, I remember someone saying to me, and I thought, well, there ain't nothing wrong with me, but there is within regards to the traumas, but my brain's still functioning.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
So I don't know why that works or whatever reasons behind. You'll be able to know more about that, but the actual dealing with stuff, it's as if, you know, I've messaged people before just going, one, I don't know who I am, or I just don't know who the fuck I am anymore.
Yeah.
You know, identity wise, I know things like you see guys get into, you know, clubs and like, say, for example, motorbike clubs, and they've got the patch and stuff like that. It gives them that sense of identity after leaving their uniformed service. It could be, you know, same for, you know, paramedics, NHS workers, professional footballers, rugby players. There's an identity lacking, and then also you with your traumas you have to deal with, or your sense of identity or purpose again.
Yeah,
I think that adjustment with leaving, so you're losing all these sense of social being and togetherness. And I think that's very, very crucial as well. Because even if you didn't participate in sports and core, you might do some AT, you know, adventure training, or you're around guys constantly, hence why you have a uniform. So you're all ground similar, you know, obviously people have rank. But so people being involved with groups, you know, if I had to recommend stuff, I'd say, well, when you're leaving, one, stay connected with the lads, you know, and it's easier now with, you know, we don't have, might have been friends with United back then, but, you know, but, you know, technology's come on, and that's a great thing. You know, I'm in touch with people in Australia I served with, which, you know, one guy, I said, so he got in touch with me randomly on Instagram and is asking how I'm getting on, and I just went, shit. And I goes, what are you up to? He goes, oh, well, I did a bit of contracting for a bit, and then I went and got badged as ESS at 36. I cracked selection after being in core. I went, good effort, you know. So I then messaged my mate who's currently serving in British SES. I went, check this out. He's just cracked. He went, fuck that. But fair play to him, you know. But it allows you to keep in touch with people. And my initial transition had naught to do with core when I left. Not in a bad way. I just didn't want all to do with military at that point.
Yeah.
And the way I got connected back in was obviously through social media, the guys I'd worked with, other people I'd never met, you know, like for yourself, for instance, you know, but we share that common thing of this, you know.
Yes.
And and that's why I got involved with that charity just on side whilst I was working in London, just to try and help, just to get me around military and just give something back again. Like, you know, people suggested joining the RMR. That wasn't for me. It were all or nothing for me.
Yeah.
Even though I do miss it, you know, I did a little bit of teaching out there. I shouldn't really be saying that out in Ukraine, but that's because a lot of these people are volunteers, lawyers, and, you know, just normal people.
Yeah.
So a little bit of experience from the high level, which I've been at, and we forget that how high level you were trained. And, you know, I could teach the AK. I'd done a course on it when I was a team commander. Very few people have an actual instructor's course. You know, so even the Yanks who were teaching were like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. It's like, right, well, if you're going to teach certain stuff, teach it properly, like, or don't try and waffle it. Because you get people out there who are on a waffle, or they're all special forces, you know. So I just helped out with little bits like that, even down to first aid, battlefield trauma, catastrophic hemorrhage stuff, everything, you know, and just to give them a bit better chance. But be surrounded by that, into a group or a club or whatever, give yourself a chance, because you will miss it, and you will suffer with your mental health just from missing it. Depends on how long you serve, you know, or how connected you are. I thought I should be all right transitioning because I'd always kept in touch with my civvy mates, you know. And investing in yourself, like course-wise, but as I alluded to, I just wasn't well enough. You know, I missed out on all my enhanced learning credits, £6,000 worth. It's a lot of money, you know, and they were up to 10 years after you leave, and that's expired for me. So the investing in yourself, or knowing what you want to do, or having good careers advice, you know, I've tried getting it, and I still haven't had decent careers advice since leaving. It's the lads who've got me jobs. You know, some I felt like I've let down, but I've had to obviously move locations, unfortunately, or my home circumstances weren't right. They know that now, but at the time they wouldn't have done them. But I just don't feel like qualified, you know. So that is another marker on the mental health wise, when you're more than capable of stuff, but I just don't feel qualified in anything. Yeah, I've got a lot to give.
Massively, yes.
So you know, so like my passion speaks through with what I've created with Poppies and Earth and Sounds, and they are all going on that journey.
Yeah. So talk more about that. What started that off for you, the Poppy conflict?
Well, I was away with Andy Shaw, and obviously, you know, within certain things for your processes and strategies was the creative side.
Yeah.
And my mum was a very talented artist, and I'd enjoyed woodworking. You know, I'd had a workshop with tools and stuff, and I'd done a bit of sketching. And he says, "Why don't you try sculpting in clay?" So one of the processes was to bury my demons, basically, you know, at the top of a mountain in Pyrenees at 9,000 feet, and leave them there.
Yeah.
And so I sculpted a poppy. Never revealed it, actually. I've never spoken about specifically what I created, but I created a poppy, and on the leaves I wrote out of clay and painted it, and I sprinkled some of the Afghan earth on it, because a lot of my guilt was survivor's guilt. And it sounds like cliche, but it's not, obviously, with regards to my cousin and stuff, my colleagues, because I just didn't feel like I was living my life, you know, in honor of them, properly living. And, you know, why wasn't it me? He was so young, blah, blah, blah. Why did I survive all them tours and he got killed on his first one, you know? So I wrote guilt and all the emotions and feelings which I were experiencing specifically. And I got back, so I thought, right, well, I'll sculpt a clear poppy and paint it, and then I'll put my uniform buttons, so my blues, I love it's in. And then I did a bit of research and thought, right, well, I could raise some money for charity because I put a picture on social media. And I'll research how many bootlegs and SBS were killed in Afghan. And just people wanted it because it was just totally different. I mean, it's gone on a refining process now. It's more botanically correct. It's my design, as it were, 3 petal one, because Legion's 2 petal. Poppy Scotland's 4 petals, so I thought I'd do 3 petals. Not trying to stand on any toes. And then people are asking, can you get this scent? Can you get that from there? So I started asking people for it, and some of them are well-known, people. Like Frank Spencer, Roy Marine got me Gibraltar, for example. A guy I took through training got me all the Falklands earths and sands, and a guy who was part of the naval party sent me one. So then there's provenance with this now. But they're actually individually like tailored. I know I've sent you one. But it's like this one I'll release, and it's got all the Falklands earths, and then it's got the Gurkha cap badge in the center.
Yeah,
just a brass button. It's just an indoor piece. To honor IV service in different places, or fallen colleagues or family members, and I do a timer for 2 minutes, which is timed to 2 minutes for the silence with the earth and sand in, and then the sort of like customized each end, brass disc on each end. That's a nice sort of thing. I've got one myself actually, and I know that'll pass. It'll become a keepsake. And then I've started doing art of the actual soil on earth, and there's no one doing it in Wales, which is nice. It's nice to come up with a new idea no one's doing. Trench art's always existed in different forms, but currently at this moment there's no one doing like what I'm doing. Like, so for example, I just done 2 power motif, crest, the wings and Roman numerals underneath with the earth from Goose Green. I've done a map of the Falklands because it's 40th anniversary, all with a mixture of the sand. So it takes a long time to think. I mean, just behind you, I'm just about to do, I've just been sketching it there. I just need to refine it. They're free, and then I'll put the free power underneath, and then I'll glue in the earth, which I've got from Mount Longdon.
Okay.
Hopefully one day I can exhibit these. I've obviously done 4-2 Commando with Mount Harriet. I've got 2 sisters. I can do SBS. Family member of mine I've just reconnected with actually. So I'll go see him. He was in Falklands as a SC2, got mentioned in dispatches. But he was in that actual blue on blue with Hereford, where it looks stripy. I've already sent him a copy with it. But the feedback you get from people is very nice, and I donate to charity of the person's choice from each purchase. So that's it. And you'd be surprised that not many people say RBL, but the smaller charities, these small donations add up or just make a little difference sometimes,
100%. I love it. I've bought quite a few off you for friends and family and stuff. Because it's a very powerful, it's an emotive thing, isn't it? And it has a lot of meaning.
Symbolism. There is a lot of symbolism, and just having the earth and sand on there, people can interpret it in their own way. So it can take them back to maybe good times, hard times. It can remember the colleagues in a good way. They're going to do that anyway, but it's their remembrance isn't just, once a year. For us, it's every day, but it doesn't have to be it's like when I walk around the Arboretum, I don't find it dark, if that makes sense. I don't find it overwhelming. It's beautiful. We'll have to go then. And I used to live 5 miles away, so I used to take my dog walking around there, just on the country road, and I used to go up regularly. And there's a dog walking route around it, but it's that big. You won't discover everything, but it's just beautiful. It's beautifully done. And it's powerful when you see your colleagues' names etched in stone, and they always will be. The names on specific, like the specific conflict war memorials. But then it's like with these poppies, I'm finding out the casualty numbers for each regiment. So it's like I'm trying to do all the earth and sands since World War II for the operational deaths of medal awarding criteria. So the government stats are even different compared to what people put on, and people try to correct me. I said, no, this is the official government ones. So it's like the Arboretum have got 16,000 names on, yet the government since World War II is 7,000 and odd. It's because they aren't putting the ones like acts of terrorism and stuff like that, and that's what the Arboretum does. So hopefully I can create the 7,000 and odd. Not individual regiments, because it just costs too much. Like the centres, unless it was sponsored. But I'd like to do a display like that. I mean, mine's indoor one, so it wouldn't be like, say, the Tower London poppies. But I'd like to do something with all the earth and sands and get every earth and sand for all the ones. So it's like the biggest losses we've had is Malaya, 1,442 since World War II. Ireland was 1,441. But it's like ongoing operations, like Cyprus is his longest operational tour with Octoral. And they've only started, not in recent terms, but doing like those who were killed by hostile fire. But then I'll research and put that on my social media, the breakdown of the units, or I'll try and get as best information as I can. And so it helps for the families as well to say, well, we're keeping the memories alive, which we should do, not just once a year. But I'm trying to make it educational. So I'll put, did you know this? Or did you know they were formed in this, or whatever else? Just little snippets every now and again. I just keep drip feeding it in. And I've got books of, like I've been writing down my information, and some people correct me as well, which is good. And then I'll try cross-reference that information again. So you're constantly evolving. And it's garnered a bit of celebrity support, which is nice. Will Carlin, I mean, that were a random one, like I'd done a drawing of a gladiator and a poppy for Whiskey Company's logo, and he just went, that's fantastic. I mean, it took a long time to do that drawing. So when I thought, they were like, is that the real Carlin? Some spam me here, And it was from his personal account. You chat with people, Damian Lewis, the author, Foxy, Aldo, they've all got poppies, and it's little stuff like that where just you think, this is nice, because I'm helping to make a little difference, and then I'm learning myself. And when you get nice messages back, like I did a timer for an old squadron leader, his granddad was killed in battle at Somme, and for the Cameroon Highlanders. And I've done the logo on his details, and obviously at date, with opening battle, and with the earth from Somme. So I've got shrapnel, I've got which we'll do stuff with 0.5 cases. I'm still after different ones, mate, but it's just interesting. They're all in bottles. They're all in bottles, so I mean, I could take you on a journey. I've refined them, and they're in nice little bottles, and then all the rest are just in tubs, But and then use that to work with. And when you look at my art, once it's framed from afar, art always looks better, and it's subjective in person. But with the poppy or the art, it's just different. It's just something different. So it's just my little take on it.
I mean, it's obviously had a big impact on you as well, in a very positive way, to pour yourself into doing this.
Yeah, well, people were saying, oh, you don't have to give to charity and all this, but this is just my way of giving back, with it. And it's like I said, it's gone on refinement process. Anything does evolves thing. I started off with just these black pop down boxes, then it was unbranded boxes, and a company did the logo for free for me. I mean, the generosity of people has been very fun, unbelievable. A guy built my website for free. I mean, you just think, oh, somebody trying to get something out of this, and it's just like, no, just kindness of people. So sort of like goes full circle as well.
There's a lot of good people out there.
Fantastic, a very successful guy in his own right, and he just wants to do his bit for military, even though he's not military.
And
and it's just like, it's just like, but I'm in awe of him because he's told me his journey.
Yes.
You know, yeah, you know, and success. I've known very successful people in the monetary value, but my measure of success is do you succeed in what you want to do? Money comes after.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily just like that because it can bring the added pressures like anything can.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
So yeah, I'm in the so doing these art and sculpting or probably obviously I'm a creative guy, but it challenges me. Drawings really challenge me, and you know, but I don't get frustrated. I'm just in the here and now with it. And then when I'm researching and cross references, I'm not getting down about stuff. I'm just in the present. And that's a good thing because it's nice to dream. Obviously, when you're dark depths, you're not thinking about tomorrow. you like you said, you're living in past. And this allows me to stay in present, but I only do it when I'm emotional. If that makes sense. So my emotion goes into my art.
Yes.
So I find when I'm in a low mood, that's when I'm best creativity wise. Don't know why. So half the time I draw at night in artificial light.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been a night owl, but yeah, it's just that good. It's just that good feedback. You know, I've got one here. I've just done. You know, I've done Welsh Guards one. You know, that's with the Earth from Fitzroy, or I've done Iwo Jima. That's with the Sam from Iwo Jima, and that's Mount Suribachi, you know.
Okay.
So it's just, yeah, it's a bit more abstract is that one because it's hard, very coarse sand. But you know, I remember watching British Sands of Iwo Jima with my granddad, you know, with John Wayne. It was one of his favourite videos. And then this ex-former Yank Marine said, I've got some sand from Iwo Jima if you want it, send him. And they were in America and he sent it to me. And he paid up postage, he wouldn't accept any money. And I mean, it was a lot of money for him to send it, you know. Other guys like Pegasus Bridge, I've got it from number 3 glider, where it landed at 6 minutes past midnight. I've done 2 poppies for the daughters of him. He won Distinguished Flying Medal, you know, and I captured it in minutes. And it's actually from the landing spot he landed. He passed a number of years ago now, but you know, and he had his arm shot and amputated, you know, and it's just like it's history.
Yeah,
I've got Bergen-Belsen from the area of, obviously not from the thing. Same with Auschwitz, it's from the area of. I've done Bergen-Belsen like art, which is like 6 rows of barbed wire, and each one represents obviously $1 million for those who died. So there's meaning in my work. You know,
massively so.
Yeah. Or if you don't know, I want, because it's all I'm going to be saying I can have plaques or information there. I want people to come in, just stop. For example, I have a stall in a hollow square, and people come in and they just look at my work and then ask questions. Just different, you know. So I've carved like Falkland sign out of a sleeper log. I've had a guy who served on RFA Sir Tristram for a little bit in the Falklands during the war. He's carved me a glass panel to put into it of the Falklands flag. So there's little things like that. A guy sent me the bottle his dad were presented who landed on Sword Beach with 4-1 Commando, which were presented on 60th anniversary, a little bottle, the mayor, and it's wrote by the mayor of that town with the French writing on. Yeah. And I'm now a guardian of that, and I will pass that on, or whoever gets this, when I pass or stop doing it, it'll go to someone. I'd like to think this will carry on in some way, shape or form, because there's bits like that which people have sent me, I'm the custodian of, and that's it. You know, it's like a listed building, isn't it?
Yes.
And, you know, and I did 10 poppies for him. And he was getting 1 for himself and 10 to gift to the residents who helped the lads on D-Day. Who were people, So
That's
gestures like that, yeah, amazing. And I then, you know, he's obviously sent me a picture, and I can put picture up with his dad. I had the brother of Doc Love, who was the air crewman who went down with the Sea King.
yeah.
Peter sent me his brother's blues button from his uniform, and I did a poppy with that, with the Falklands sprinkled in, because with the Sea King crash with Hereford all in.
Yeah.
So there's loads of little touches like that. A good story from it was I did a poppy for the son of Frank Spencer, and Frank Spencer, who died on Two Sisters with 4-5. And I said, "Oh, that was my last unit." And he didn't know that their family could qualify for Elizabeth Cross. And just through a conversation in person, this was, I let him know, and it's now his mum, and they're in receipt of it, and they never knew.
Brilliant.
Just having conversations on the back of doing a poppy for him, like he wants to complete the march his dad never got to do from Two Sisters into Stanley, which is really emotive. So you can network people like that when you find out, or people are getting in touch, or, you know, the Earth and Sands people are getting just randomly. I just message people, some don't respond, some do, and go, "Oh, I've just got back, Rick," you know. So there's really good stories from it, and that's just, my brain's like it's on LSD, Simon, constantly, like 10,000 ideas just constantly coming through, but I've got to put them down on paper, mate, or create it there. It doesn't matter if it's frame, or I will get up and I will start sculpting. So it's a journey of it. The art is, I'd like to exhibit one day properly, like Arboretum, World War Museum, like properly exhibit it, and hopefully do a bit of justice to remembrance. And I've got other ideas. Every time I come up with ideas, other people nick them, you know.
You're going to keep them to yourself until you've got them out there, yeah.
Yeah, well, I do, or I have the idea and I'll say it to a couple of people, and then it gets done, but it's like far-fetched. Like, I'm going to do a cookbook for mental health for veterans, and RBL have done it, and I came up with it, like, say 2 years previous to then thinking about it. I was just like, no.
Yeah.
Or like, I'd like to do a dot-to-dot little book. You know, I'm happy saying it, because I don't mind people copying, you know, it's as long as they just get in touch and say thanks, Rick. But
well, yeah,
a dot-to-dot, like, cartoony book for children, but it's a remembrance stuff. So it could be, you know, a memorial cross, a poppy, and it just describes what Poppy's journey, just in a kid's version, but it's to get to draw and color it in, you know.
Yeah.
Numbers,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, little things like that are just my ideas, mate. I've got a piece of shrapnel here. I haven't got a door number on my house, so I'm going to get that done into a door number. The metal, you know, like you would buy that, really nice, but it'll be made, you know, it's shrapnel from First World War. It is.
Okay.
Yeah, and where my granddad, so my great granddad, served. So, and he took in his life, Simon, 40 years afterwards.
Yeah.
My great granddad, you know, survived horrific, I think 3 to 5 gas attacks. It was conflicting info, but wounded in action numerous times. And then he gassed himself at my nan and granddad's house when my granddad was in RAF on Christmas Eve one year in 1953 or 54. No, 56, 1956 it was. Gassed himself. So literally 40 years later, you know.
Yeah.
So suffering can come out, like there'll be a big fallout still of Afghan vets. There's like a layman period, as well, you're the one that deals with it. So, but it can happen straight away, or it can be afterwards, you know.
Well, it used to be up to 14 years before it fully manifested, really. Yeah. But that reduced with the tempo of ops in Afghan. It came down to about between 2.5 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's a lot shorter. I'll question that. What what would be the standout thing for you? I suppose it's twofold, if you like. What's the most important thing you've kind of learned about yourself, and what's the most powerful piece of advice you could give people from your experiences?
I think personally, for me, it would be, I think,
that's if you're happy to share. Sorry.
Yeah, no, my strength, my own strength of mind. I am stronger than what I know, if that makes sense, because of how much I've actually been through. And it's not a sob story, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing, strength-wise, resilience. I am stronger than I know or believe, because I won't be still going if I did. I just got to start believing. And then in part, what specifically for you, like a part of that question? So
what's your kind of biggest piece of advice you can give people who are perhaps going through something similar or just struggling in their own way?
Yeah, just don't let it manifest too much. There's a thing where women will always chat. We always take the piss and we go out and they're chatting on phone, but they're actually detoxing without them realizing it, because they're talking about everything and everything, or the venting. And women do, oh, bloody bugger, you know, get caught out. They do it really well. So being able to open up, I think one of my biggest things would be to open up and don't worry about so-called being judged, because one, you'll tend to be a mature person anyway, in general, especially if you've been ex-forces, former forces, or blue light, etc. It's not about having a thick skin. Just open up, because you'll soon realize people have had similar experiences within their feelings, and never measure it. Don't say, oh, well, I haven't been through what you've been through. No. Feelings, emotion, and behaviors connected with trauma, whatever trauma is for you, or instances, is not measurable. It's actually the same level, because you still feel low. So don't worry about comparing yourself. Don't ever try and compare yourself and go, well, they've been through worse. I could have done that out there, you know, in Ukraine, but I've been through my own shit. But I want comparing.
Yeah, that's such a powerful point for people to understand.
And don't label yourself either.
Yeah,
you know, don't just because, you know, I know it can empower, and I get that, and it's good for certain things, but there's still stigma with PTSD. But people go around and say, I've got PTSD and all this. You don't need to throw it in people's faces either. You know, we can all be advocates of it, but we can do it in a way which is not the look at me sketch. It's going, look, I'm on my journey. I've had an experience. I can either share it with the world or not. But at the same time, if I need help, please open up, and someone will get you the right help. And it might not be the right help to start off with, but you've already started the process of rediscovering again. And self-analysis, because you've opened up, and you'll find through self-analysis, you'll be more aware of it, and you will reach out. And I know it can contradict what I've said previously in our podcast, but that is a very powerful tool to know that you're ill or you need help. And don't be ashamed, because if you broke your leg, you go and get help. The mind is exactly the same, and it can be fixed.
Yes, it can.
You know.
Yes, it can. If you want it to.
Yeah, you constantly got to try.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's a continuous work in progress.
Yeah, my well-being now is my art, you know, or my daughter, when I see her, she lights me up instantly, you know. So yeah. Find the things which light you up and make you feel good. And if you don't know, then go back to what you thought as a child and experiencing things for the first time, and go and try that analogy approach to life.
Yeah,
because we don't do that as adults as much. But when we do go and discover or try new things, you know, I think that's why we excel when we're military and Marines, because we're exposed to so many multitude of things. It brought confidence with it because we just got involved with stuff. It didn't matter if we're good at it, you know. We're all legends at dancing, but put me on Strictly, I'll be a legend for the wrong reason, you know. You know, because I guarantee I could get a bootneck shuffle in on Strictly.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
But out, when we say out of your comfort zone, it could be a little something like that. And then it's like your approach to jungle, it's looking through and not at. So it's actually meditative, is actually look at stuff properly. And that changes your way of thinking. And you can do that just by looking at architectural buildings, you know, the carved stonework, Victorian period ones, whatever, you know, Gothic revival. If you actually look, you'll start seeing stuff you didn't see before. And if you start approaching that, you look at things differently, and that helps.
Brilliant. Wonderful advice, mate. Listen, thank you for chatting in the first place, but more importantly, for being so open. You know, warms my heart to hear you say the things you said.
Yeah, you can be frank with stuff, but I'm not gonna, you know, people say, how can you just talk about hanging yourself like that? But it's happened. There's not what I can do about it, you know? So I've got to just be open about it. And it's not an experience I want to live through again, and I wouldn't bloody recommend it. So don't do it, you know?
Yeah.
You don't need to. You know, I lost 3 friends in 2019, you know, and just, you know, Marines. I went to 2 of the funerals, and you just need to open up and don't compare yourself with others, you know. So don't compare to me or Simon from this podcast or anything. Is you've got your own traumas, there's help for you. It sometimes can take longer, but someone will always help you.
Yes.
Have a good chat. We've had a good chat, you know, and I know I've waffled and chatted, and I can have a laugh all day long and spin dicks and chat, but it's good for me to, it's like guided reflection. I can go back on my terms in a controlled and safe manner.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing it with, you know, obviously yourself. I'm going back on my terms. So that's a process you'll learn, or you might learn with, well, it's like CBT really, isn't it? But it's like driving a car. You will check the rear view mirror, and if your rear view mirror is your past, then you will look at it, but you'll concentrate on what's in front of you. And then by steering and changing gears and brakes and clutch, you're in the present. This is how but you will check your mirrors regularly, and it's okay to do that.
Yes.
Don't focus on them, because you will have a car crash.
Yeah, sometimes you have to check what's behind you.
Yeah, but you do it on
absolutely.
your terms. You do it when you want to, and I think that's I simplify mental health is that driving analogy.
Nice, brilliant. Listen, I will in the description, I'll stick in all your details for your website and your Facebook and all the rest of it.
Thank you.
And anything else that you want people to look at.
I
So
appreciate that. Thank you, Simon. And I'll share your stuff. Are you working freelance?